Hello. Thought it was about time I put out a video on how to play my Shakuhachi flutes. So I've got a couple of embouchure exercises for you. The embouchure is basically the formation of the lips to create a clean jet of air to play the flute. We'll start without the flute for a minute. The first exercise is a closing exercise, and it basically looks like this. The idea is to relax the tongue and allow the tongue to sit flat in the mouth, and to blow out the lips a little bit so that you relax all these fine motor muscles around the lips. I'm hoping you can hear this over the veggies. And each time you want to bring the lips closer and closer together to make a narrower jet, and slowly narrow the jet as well, left to right, and bring it into the middle. The second exercise is what I call the bursting exercise. We basically part the lips with the air pressure. It's basically the other way round. So something like... You think of making a P sound. And then just allowing the air to continue. So try those two out back and forth a few times. And after a little while you should find that you can bring them both to the same position of getting this constant stream of clean jet of air. What we're looking for is called laminar flow as opposed to turbulence or turbulent flow. Turbulent flow in a river is like ripples or eddy currents, and what we're looking for is a lack of rippling, a lack of eddies, no spoil in the airflow. Once you've got that down a little bit, you can start to introduce what I've heard called the Buddha's smile, which is this slight upturn in the lips here. Not a broad grin, but just a little smile that basically adds tension to the bottom lip, and that will help give you a floor to work from and a clean starting point. The trick here is not to blow air, but to allow the breath out of the lungs. It very is much a Zen breathing exercise. This jet should be straight and level with the floor if your head is up and your chin is up. Yes, you really want to blow straight forwards over the flute edge rather than down into the flute. You're not going to blow into the flute. You can test this a little bit with your finger, so if I just do the exercise and then move my finger in and out of the airstream, you should hear or feel on your finger a clean break where the jet is and isn't. If I just come close to the microphone a minute, just to make sure I record it. It should feel quite wide, but not very high. It's sort of like a letterbox shape. The last bit, I suppose, is to start using the lips to articulate the position of that flow. For normal play, you want that jet coming straight out, parallel with the floor. But if you're reaching the second octave, you may need to adjust the angle down, or based on where the flute sits on your face, you may need to adjust the angle slightly. So once you've got the air jet there, hold your finger in the same place and you try to move the air jet up and down on your finger. So that's the embouchure practice. To hold the flute, you basically want to rest the back edge of the flute here on your chin. And to find the right place for the blowing edge, the utaguchi, you can raise the flute to the level of the floor, and you should feel the flat edge on the top lip, as if the blade was going in between your lips like a blade of paper. From here, you can lower the flute down to about 45 degrees, so that you actually get a bit of gap between your lips and the blowing edge. You shouldn't feel it when you're playing, it's just a way to find the position. Like so. And then, with your embouchure, you may find you get quite a lot of whistling sounds and very high-pitched sort of scintillation of the sound. That basically means you're very close to the sweet spot. So from this point it is just a little bit of practice and adjusting that airflow up and down to find where the sweet spot is on the edge. That other note that you hear, that's the second octave on this flute. So that basically means I'm either blowing too hard or my angle is too low. So back off the pressure a bit and try and find that bottom note. Once you've found the note, you can start taking your fingers on and off the holes. These flutes will play 2 octaves plus some harmonics. So that's the lower octave. And then if you basically angle the jet down slightly and increase the pressure a little bit. When I say increase the pressure, I don't mean blow harder, I mean close the embouchure, because closing the embouchure does effectively increase the pressure, and that will get you the second octave range. Let's try that now. The higher up the range you go, the more accurate you're going to need to be to get a stable note out of it. That's the 2 octaves. It's tuned to the minor pentatonic, and you should find that the bottom note of the top octave and the top note of the bottom octave are the same if you're playing it correctly. So that sounds like this. Not like that. With a little practice you'll find you can get a bunch of harmonics. So if I just play the bottom note and keep all of my fingers on all of the holes. So there's 2 octaves and then 2 harmonics, all with the same fingering. So there is a lot of adjustment in the embouchure and the lips with these flutes. For holding the flute, this is a very low flute, it's in B, so the stretch is quite large, even for large hands. So for this flute, I'm actually trying to play it with my fingers, so you see the flat of my finger here is covering the holes, and that's basically to keep my forearms and my wrists in alignment. If you end up kinking like this, you get into a bit of a bad habit. So do try to keep your forearms and wrists in alignment. With a smaller flute, that's not so much of a trouble because you can basically the gaps are closer so that you can hold it with your fingertips a little more easily. There is also a break point between the 2 octaves where you'll get that rasping sound that you just heard. So with a bit of practice you could incorporate that into what you're playing. So you've got a lower octave, a sort of distorted in between, and then the upper octave, and then your harmonics sit above that. One bad habit you can get into is pushing the flute into your face to try and hold it in place. Really try to allow it to sit. You don't want to be pressing into your jaw or your teeth. It's quite a bad habit, and once you've started it's quite hard to break. Like with other flutes, you can articulate the notes with the tip of the tongue behind the upper teeth to interrupt the airflow. And just some other concepts. You bend the flute by looking up and down. So this opens the top hole, which bends the pitch up, and this closes the top hole, which bends the note down. It takes a little practice that because you're adjusting the embouchure and the airflow to match the tilt in your head. You can add a ripple to the note by rolling in the throat, like a rolled R, or a cat purring. Think. last tip I got for you is you can actually hum over the note, and that will distort it in a sort of a slightly more subtle way. You should have some notes on how to hold the flute itself. You basically want your first and third finger covering the holes. The middle finger is supporting the flute. The left hand is on the upper set of notes with the thumb on the back. The right hand goes on the lower end, same again. The middle finger supports the flute. The other first and third fingers cover the holes. One thing I found very useful is to face a mirror and play into the mirror, because it allows you to see how your embouchure is lining up with the blowing edge. It's quite hard to feel when you're first getting started, so just being able to see what's happening in your reflection is quite useful. I promise you, if you think you're blowing too softly, you're not. You can blow very gently, and all of the control and the pressure of the edge comes from having a small embouchure. So if you think your embouchure is too small, it's not. If you think you're blowing too softly, you're not. You can be very gentle with these, and you'll get a good, clean sound. In fact, the less waste air, the cleaner and purer the pitch will be. Now, that's not to say you can't introduce air spoil and you get a very breathy sound if you open the embouchure up, but for the sake of practicing, you're really aiming to get a clean, pure tone, just because that's the foundation of playing, and then everything else is an extension of that principle. If you're hearing that whistling, that means you're very close. I'm slightly too high there. As I adjust the position very slightly, suddenly just starts to sing. So yeah, if you're feeling close but not getting it, don't force the breath, don't force the face. Just allow the position of the jet to move around and wash that jet of air around until it combines with the flute to allow the flute to sing. The upper notes are generally hard to reach because they require finer control of the pressure and a cleaner jet with higher speed, basically. Good luck.